what we're going to do first is to prepare the piece. This is a prosthetic adhesive called pros-aide, and what we're going to do first is we're going to apply some prosthetic adhesive to the inside of the prosthetic piece. All right. These have been pre-glued with pros-aide and powdered. This is kind of a time saver so that when you do a makeup on somebody, you can basically figure out where you want them to go, where you want these to go, and then apply them to someone's face. Now, before you get going on applying a makeup to somebody using this material, you do not want to embark on doing this without making sure you have enough adhesive remover. Nothing takes this stuff off except a decent professional adhesive remover. This stuff works pretty well. It's called Super Solve. This works pretty well for removing the pros-aide. This will not remove with soap and water. It will not. So don't even try doing a makeup unless you have maybe a couple bottles of this stuff sitting around. And this can be bought at the same place where you might have found this. This is from Alcone, and you can probably get this at Alcone also. So just kind of a precaution. If you glue this to somebody's face and you don't have this to remove it, they're not going to be your friend for very long. So make sure you have this stuff around. Okay, this shows the positioning of the appliance, and right now we're just gluing some adhesive to the skin, and that will be allowed to dry. It'll be dried and then powdered. So every surface will be glued and then dried and then powdered. And then the appliance will be put into position and then activated with alcohol. I'm pouring a little bit of 99% alcohol, and everything is glued and powdered. You can position it and remove it, and right now I'm just trying to get it into position. And I have some alcohol on the brush, and once that is on the brush, you can smear it between the appliance and your skin. You have to be very careful because you can get it anywhere, and you have to be careful around your eyes. And right now, as you brush on the alcohol, it will dissolve the dried glue, and as the glue dissolves, then it sets back into place, and then it'll affix the appliance where you want it to be glued down. You can buy the alcohol. You have to order it usually from the same places you would get the other materials. I did see 99% alcohol at a pharmacist one time, so you might be able to ask the pharmacist if they have 99% alcohol, but I've rarely seen it. Usually you have to order the stuff. Right now I'm blending some gelatin seams with witch hazel and a Q-tip, and the witch hazel will dissolve some of the gelatin. Right now I have a mixed material called Bondo. It's Cabecil and pros-aide. Basically it's like a patch sealer. It's like spackling compound for appliances that, you know, if you have stubborn seams, then you can kind of blend them in with this material. and then once that dries, then you have a seam that's blended nicely. You can apply it, dry it, and then blend it with 99% alcohol. The slang name for it is Bondo. A lot of makeup people call it that. Some people call it Cabo Patch. And I'm brushing it with alcohol to kind of smooth it out and blend some seams. If it's your first time using that material, I'd recommend buying the stuff that's already pre-made, the Cabo Patch material. I wouldn't buy the stuff that comes as Cabosil and then mixing it yourself, because the stuff becomes airborne and it's a real respiratory hazard. So if you've never worked with that material before, get the stuff that's pre-made. So it'll go by the name Bondo or Cabo Patch. Right now I have a bottle of green marble sealer, and that will seal up the appliances that are glued to my face. The green marble sealer is diluted with 99% alcohol. Excuse me, that's going to be sprayed onto the appliances and some areas around my face. I think I'm painting it on right now. The basic idea behind this is that you want the pigment that's going to be going onto your makeup to absorb at the same rate or not absorb at the same rate. If your pigmentation absorbs too quickly or not enough, then the problem you have is discoloration that you don't want. So the materials, the prosthetics that are glued to your face, absorb at different rates than your skin does, and it's noticeable when you colorize the makeup. So the trick is you have to seal it somehow, and this green marble sealer is really good stuff to make that happen. I was using a cotton ball, so I had to pick some stuff off my face, so don't use a cotton ball for any of that. I'm ready to start colorizing stuff, so I'm using these Stay Color palettes. These are alcohol activated emulsion ink, makeups. So what you do basically is you just dribble 99% alcohol into these things, and they act like watercolor trays. They're very versatile, and there's a lot of really neat effects that you can get with them, and you can paint with them relatively quickly. You could even mix in some of the sealer with them, and you can build layers with them, so the next layer of paint doesn't become dissolved by the other layer of paint that you might put on top. So there's a lot of things you can do with them. You can airbrush them. A lot of people do that. The goal here is that you're trying to get the appliance to blend into the rest of your skin and the rest of your face. And hopefully if you blended the seams well enough, then it'll look like the appliance is part of the rest of your face. And the objective now is to try and use what colors you have on your face and blend them with the appliance so that you can kind of get a character to emerge from the appliances that you now have. And now it becomes sort of a 2D makeup process. You want to bring a lot of color variation into what you're doing, because even if you're making like sort of a dead looking character, you want there to be some kind of life happening. I wanted to get some kind of a cracked lip effect, so I puckered my lip and then dabbed on some paint, so it took on the natural wrinkles that existed in my lower lip there. You can see that the appliance is kind of yellowish and a little lighter than the rest of the face, so the main idea is that I'm going to try and distract from the difference in color that exists between the appliance and the rest of my face. So some of those areas got a little too dark, and right now I'm sort of brushing over some of those areas to sort of soften the effect that I got. You know, the veins that occur on the temple became a little too high contrast, so I'm sort of diminishing the contrast a little bit. You can do a lot with mixing quite a lot of alcohol into the pigment and allowing it to pool into some of the textures of the appliance in your own face and get some interesting textures that way. Here I'm trying to create sort of a sunburn looking effect, mixing some complementary colors, like sort of a greenish color with a kind of a burnt sienna reddish color, and mixing varying degrees of those two. You can get varieties of spotty sort of brownish reds, and by going back and forth between these colors you can sort of vary the tonalities. I'm going to try and be observant of colors that occur in the natural world. If you study people's faces and you try to look at what the colors that occur in people's faces actually look like, you'll discover that there's really a wide array of different colors happening, even if you look at your own face in different lighting, like in sunlight or in the lighting that occurs at dusk, or when you're next to something that's brightly colored or whatever. You'll see that there's all kinds of different colors that come out. You want to try and bring those into the mix as well. And I think here I'm trying to get some darkening of the eyelid just to make things stand out a little more, because it got to a point where there was so much going on in this makeup, I needed to sort of call attention to some dominant features on the face. So doing something in the eyes that was sort of a dominant characteristic was helpful. It looks like I have some kind of leprosy or skin disease and been out in the sun too long or something like that. Not really sure what this is. If I was really going to go the whole... Now, I'm showing you how well this stuff sticks to your face. You're never going to get it off unless you get some of the solvent. If I was really going to go the whole 9 yards, I would have done a makeup on the neck and the ears and all this other kind of stuff to make everything look more convincing. So the main idea is I'm going to show you what it's like getting the makeup off. And if you've really done a good job of trying to seal up the appliance and blend off the edges, then you're going to have a considerable difficulty finding an edge to start pulling off the makeup with. This is the main idea, is you want to get as much of the piece off as you can and try and get the glue off your skin. And it's a little bit tedious, but you'll find that you can do it if you're patient, and using the Super Solve is the key. And that one came off pretty easily. One note of caution, if you consume alcohol, this stuff will be much more difficult to remove from your face. That's not just if you drink. If you have been taking cold medicine or anything like that, then remember that the alcohol causes the glue to better adhere to your skin. And that's one of the reasons that it's used as an agent in applying the makeup. It will be much more difficult to remove from your skin when you're trying to remove the makeup with the Super Solve. So it'll take longer than it has to, and you'll have much more difficulty cleaning it off. So you want to be very aware of these kind of issues when you're working on doing a makeup and if you're going to be working with an actor or something like that. It's a good way to practice to start doing these on yourself, so you know how these materials act and behave, so that if you do them, you do a makeup on another person, you have a concept of how the materials act and what happens when you remove a makeup, and the degree to which somebody's going to have challenges with the makeup. A lot of this is using the alcohol to take the pigment off. And then later I'll be using more of the solvent to get the glue off.